Hello and welcome to chapter 4 of Angular Material Theming System. In this chapter, we are going to talk about density. We are going to continue from where we end chapter 3, which was dimension typography. So if you are following along, you don't have to clone the repository again or go into any other folder. Just continue in the same project. Or if you are starting from scratch, you can go to end folder of the previous chapter, which was chapter 3, and run the npm start command in that folder, and then continue along in this chapter. Instructions and links for the repository and folder are given in the section below of this video. In this chapter, we are going to cover 5 topics. We will understand how density works in Angular Material. Then we will learn how to modify the density. Next, we will create some helper or utility classes which will help us in achieving needed density in Angular Material components. Then we will make some changes in theme changer service so that we can add the needed class in the root element of our application, which can be HTML or body tag, so that density is applied in all the Angular Material components across whole application. And lastly, we will implement a slider for the end user so that they can adjust the spacing as they want. Okay. Density in Angular Material means spacing in components and only spacing, not the font sizes. So if you reduce the density, it will only reduce the spacing in the component. Now, similar to how we did for color and typography, let's try to modify values of density and see what kind of output it generates. So I will go back to the code. First of all, let's try to remove the density and see what output it is generating. So once the server is reloaded, notice that there is no change in the output uh, because by default in Angular Material density is 0. So if you don't provide density, it will by default apply standard density, which is 0 density across all the Angular Material components. Let's try to reduce the density. So I will provide -2 for density and see the output. So if I provide -2, notice that height of toolbar is now reduced, and also the height of form field is reduced. Also the spacing around text of button is reduced. So when we provide negative density, the spacing in components starts reducing and only spacing. Observe that font sizes still remain same because font sizes are generated using typography property and not the density property in Angular Material. For density, you can give maximum 0 and minimum -5 as value. So 0, -1, -2, -3, -4, and -5 are the valid values. You cannot give value more than 0 or less than -5. Values 0 to -5 are the valid values in Angular Material density. Okay, now we are going to create additional helper or utility classes for each possible value of density, and then we will make changes in our theme changes service so that we can add any density class based on user preferences. So first of all, I'll revert it back to 0. You can also remove this if you want, because by default we want standard density to be applied. Next, I'm going to create a new file called underscore density dot scss in styles folder. And in this file, I'm going to use the concept of list and iteration of SCSS. So here what I have done, I have created a list of all the possible values of density first, which are 0, -1 up to -5. Then I am iterating over density list using @each in SCSS, and I'm storing each and every value in $density. Inside this loop, I am creating a dynamic class called .density dash, and then I am using interpolation. So basically, this will create classes like this: dot density dash 0, then dot density dash dash 1, because we have -1, so dash -1, and likewise. So it will create classes like this because we are iterating over and we are using interpolation in SCSS, so we can use that in class name. Then I am including method theme mixin, and am applying $density as value for density property. So basically, density 0 class will have 0 density applied. Density -1 class will have -1 density applied. So that is how this iteration works for density file. Now next, I'm going to import this file in our main styles file. So I will use @use keyword styles density, and we will save this. Now we won't notice any output in the browser, but we can check if classes are correctly implemented or not. What we will do, in body, I will apply a class called density -1. If you see, the spacing is getting reduced. Let's go to styles, and for density -1, you see some CSS variables are generated. These CSS variables are mostly related to size and height, right? And padding, etc. If I apply density -2, then it is reducing the spacing more, correct? So our classes which we generated from density file are working as expected. Now what we are going to do, we are going to make some changes in theme changer service so that we can store what size user wants, and we can also allow end user to change the spacing of components as per their need. Okay, so let's go to our code. I will open theme changer service. Let me reduce this so that we can see the theme changer service code. Now, first of all, same as theme, we are going to create a key to store density, which is my app density. Then same as is dark flag, we will create a flag for density. So we are creating a signal from which we will modify the density, and there is a public property called density, which is a read-only signal from private property. So we can use this density anywhere in our Angular application to understand what density it is currently using. Okay. Next, in the constructor, we will set the density. This will be same as theme. So for theme, what we are doing, we are setting theme and we are getting preferred theme in it. We will create these functions in a moment. Next, we are going to have one more effect. This will be based on density. So whenever density gets changed, we want to toggle the classes in documents body. So that is the logic we are adding. Next, let's create the helper functions to get the density and set the density. So at the end, I'm going to add three functions. The first is get preferred density. This will basically try to load the density from storage. Then set stored density. This will override the density in storage. And set density is a public function which we can use anywhere in our application. It will handle setting the density in Signal and also in local storage. So I'm going to provide the code snippet for this service in the section below of this video, so you can easily copy paste the code. So you don't have to worry about getting each and every line correct as of now. Next, we are going to implement slider component through which user will be able to change the density. And that component will basically call the set density function to adjust the density. So let's start by creating component using Angular CLI. So I will open up the new terminal and paste this command ng generate component, and I want to generate this component inside components folder. So I will say components slash density slider. So I have already created this component, so I'm not going to run it, but run it in your project. Let's open up the template for density slider. So this is going to be a very straightforward code. So what I'm doing, I'm creating a card which will be getting opened and closed based on this button. So whenever user will click on a button, that will be a scale button, card will be opened and it will be absolutely positioned within this container. We are going to add the styles. Next, let's go to the component and modify the code like this. So in this, I have a property called isOpen. Then I'm reading the current density from theme changer service. And then whenever density gets changed, I'm setting the density. Next, we are going to add tiles. I will go to tiles file and I will paste the command. I will save everything. Now I'm going to go to app component and import this newly created density slider component. I'm going to save this in my app components template. I'm going to add that density slider, and I'm going to combine both of this theme toggle and density slider in a section called toolbar action. And then in toolbar action, I'm going to add some styling in app component. So instead of theme toggle, I will use toolbar action and it has some styling applied to it. It has a display of flags. There is some gap applied and I'm vertically aligning them centering. I will save all this. As you can see on the top right side, there is a ruler button. We can click that and a card is opened. So maximum is 0 and minimum is -5. If we slide it, can see the density is getting changed for toolbar. Let me go to the browser so that you can see it properly. Okay, we'll close this and let's open up the slider. I'm reducing it to -1. You can see the density is getting changed, right? And if I increase, the density gets increased. Notice the behavior. Okay. Now let's see if I reduce it to -2. Let's go to browser's local storage and see my app density is -2. So when I reload this application, it will apply that same density. Let's go to body and see. Yes, it is applying density dash -2 plus. So user can change the density as per their need. Standard density is 0. So for that, we are not adding any class, but if it changes to -1, we are adding a class of density dash -1. And this is taken care from theme changer service. So This brings to the end of this chapter, which was dimension density. To recap, we started by understanding what is density and how it works in Angular material theme. By default, it takes zero density if you don't provide in matter theme mixin. Then we saw how we can modify the density. Valid values are 0 to -5. Then we created some utility or helper classes for each and every possible value of density. And then we implemented a feature through which user can change the density as per their need. We will see you in the next chapter. Thank you.